Hello, my loves. Welcome to Soul Love. I'm Mafalda. Welcome back. If you've been here before on this channel, I discuss the twin flame phenomenon in all its complexity and its nuance. And in this video, I want to answer a question that I received, which is why is it that the DM, the divine masculine, or the matrix twin, the 3D twin, so the one that remains unconscious to the connection upon soul recognition and during the separation phases, engage in karmic type relationships with other people after having met their twin. So why is it that some divine masculines, some matrix twins can engage with different sexual partners or different partners even after having met their twin, even after having been in contact with their soul mirror, their divine counterpart? And the answer is twofold. The reason is both for the divine feminine or spiritual twin and for the divine masculine or matrix twin themselves. So let's begin with why they do it. Even if they've met you already, even if they've met their counterpart already, why do they do it, and how can they do it? So we live in this polarity planet. It's a planet of duality, and we see that in the fact that we have night and day. We have hot and cold. There's opposites. So what that means is that on this planet, we learn through contrast. In order to know what hot is, you need to experience cold. And this is very well explained in the Hermetic principles that you might have come across or might have heard about. And so what they're really doing is they tasted God when they met you. They encountered their own soul, the purity, the essence of love itself, unconditional love, not 3D human love in the way that we're used to on this planet. And so they then go, on the one hand, searching for it in other partners, and they're learning through contrast. They're learning that you were the truth, that they saw themselves in you by realizing what's empty, what's not true, what's superficial, what's void of true love, what's transactional and conditional in nature. So that process is what their soul or your soul needs to go through, what their being, their body, their vessel needs to experience in order to learn by contrast to be able to remember. On the other hand, they are playing out mechanisms of avoidance. So there's a terror that might come through for them of having been faced with a perfect mirror, having had to face themselves. And so they are trying to erase the connection. They're trying to get you out of their mind. And they need to go through that process in order to realize that they can't. That there's something about you. There's something about what they experienced, they remembered about who they are, that's beyond the logical mind, that they cannot erase. But how would they learn that if they didn't experience the opposite? Also, it also has to do with familiarity. They're searching, or they're trying to numb or cover up the power of soul truth by seeking this safety, by seeking comfort. Comfort, which at the soul level is discomfort, but at the human level, it keeps them safe because it allows them to stay small. It allows them to not have to emerge as their empowered divine selves. And so they go through these partners trying to, on the one hand, forget, trying to numb, trying to avoid. And this happens with other partners. sexual partners, relationships, karmic entanglements, as much as it happens with other mechanisms or other behaviors. Of course, that's not the subject of this video, but that's why they can overwork, they can get into drugs, whatever it is that numbs them, the contrast that they're learning through. So that's why they do it. That's how they can do it. That's on the side of the divine masculine or the matrix twin. Now, for the divine feminine or the spiritual twin, that tends to be the opposite, tends to not be able to engage in sexual relationships or karmic relationships with anybody after meeting their twin because we're conscious. We're not the unconscious twin. We realize what's happening. We realize we've touched something so much greater than ourselves that we can never go back. That's why divine feminines or spiritual twins tend to go through long periods of celibacy, because after you've met your divine counterpart, after you've faced the purest, most exact soul mirror, how could you ever settle for something karmic, for something conditional, for something transactional? You can't. And the reason that it hurts so much, and the reason that you actually have to go through this, is not because you're being punished. It's not because it's unfair. It's by design. Just like by design, they need to learn what love is not in order to remember what love is. We need to learn self-love. We need to learn worthiness without the validation. We need to choose ourselves and remember who we are in our divine essence without needing them to choose us. So it's all about literally forcing us to heal those wounds of abandonment, of rejection, of not being chosen, of being exiled, silenced, put aside as if we're not worth anything. And it forces us to turn within, to stop looking outside, to stop seeing them remembering us, them realizing, them awakening to the connection as proof that the connection is real. And coming into the knowing within ourselves of what it is, and that being enough, becoming the embodiment of love itself, regardless of what the mirror on the outside says. It's also a lesson in detachment. It forces us to become so aware of how the spiritual realm works that we are no longer attached to this type of relating, this type of relationship dynamic where there's control, where we see the physical body's actions as an attack on us, where we realize that the connection is so deep, is so profound, it transcends this lifetime, so it transcends the human form. It transcends physicality. And the fact that we're seeing them or becoming aware somehow that they're karmically entangled, that they are going through multiple sexual partners, it's forcing us to detach from that and to see that that is not the truth. Because this body is temporary. This human form is temporary. And we've been connected with our divine counterparts for eons of time, for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And whatever they're experiencing in the human form does not taint the connection, does not taint the purity of the connection. And it can be brutal, but it is highly effective in elevating us and in training us to come into multidimensionality. That is the purpose. Remembering who we are, remembering the purity of the connection without needing them to validate that, to mirror that back to us. Letting go, knowing that death is not the end. Knowing that we are eternal, infinite beings. And whatever they're experiencing at this human level is not the truth. And so we're also learning through contrast in that way. We're also seeing what love is not and remembering what love is, and alchemizing all that blame, all that victimhood of feeling like their behavior is an attack on us, like their behavior is evidence of the fact that we're not worthy of being chosen. And ultimately, it's a transformation process. It's a death and rebirth that forces us to awaken to who we truly are. And once we embody that, nobody can take that away from us. And paradoxically, we become the lighthouse to which they return, because they are initially and through separation running away from the light that we are, because initially it blinds them. It's too bright, it's too radiant. And in some cases, of course, this is not a complete rule, because we might also be in our wounded state as well. So that's a conversation for a different video. But eventually, when we come into our divine embodiment, that light, instead of blinding them, it magnetizes them. They can't not be drawn, because it's soul memory. It's the truth. It's love. However long it takes them, they eventually come back. Of course, there is no guarantee in this lifetime, but the moment that we're living, there's more and more and more of us coming into union by the minute. It has become so much more possible in this day and age. So I hope that this clarifies any questions around this topic. Do let me know if I've answered your questions in the comments below. It is such a delight to show up, like always. And also, if you do need assistance or guidance, depending on which stage of the journey you're on, don't hesitate to reach out. I am just so happy to help twins and to bring more clarity, more knowledge, more wisdom around this topic, because it's been so distorted in the past. So it really is an honor, and I feel so blessed to be able to work with twins and to see the growth, to see the evolution, and to be part of this incredible community that is reshaping and restoring the templates for divine love here on earth. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you all a lovely day, a lovely evening, wherever you're at in the world, and I will see you very soon in another video.